failure is good. We need you set a structure for failure. And that's the key is having an environment where you can fail, and that's okay. That's the magic place we want to get to.
This is Reframe, the podcast from the College of Education, Health and Society on the campus of Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. When it comes to science and all the great scientists doing really important science work, there's a couple of myths that some people still seem to believe. The first is that we often think about groundbreaking discoveries and otherworldly innovations only happening at places like CERN or NASA. But great scientific work is actually happening all around us, all the time, probably even in your own backyard. Another thing is that many people often think that science is only somehow reserved for someone who's super intelligent or a genius, and some are, sure. But becoming a great scientist isn't an unattainable goal for the rest of us either, because what connects most scientists is a deep curiosity, a love of learning, and a determination to solve problems even in the face of failure. And today on the podcast, we hear from someone who's eager to bring this message to more people, especially children, who are often excited to learn that scientists are real people, just like they are.
So my name is Chris Anderson. I am the host and executive producer of Science Around Cincy, and I am a proud Miami alumni in class of 2008.
Science Around Cincy is a new web series that shares the stories of people who work in science all across the Cincinnati area. In each episode, Chris takes viewers behind the scenes to learn more about new discoveries and the people who make them. And it's not just about making science cool and exciting. It's also about inspiring the next generation of researchers and engineers. Here's a clip from a recent episode with the Cincinnati Zoo, which is actually doing some amazing work to preserve the Earth's biodiversity.
Hey everyone, my name is Chris Anderson. Cincinnati is home to one of the best zoos in the world. But did you know that the Cincinnati Zoo is also part of an international research effort to save plant and animal species from extinction? Well, that's why I'm here to talk to Dr. Terry Roth, who's the director for the Center for Conservation and Research of Endangered Wildlife. Hey Terry.
Hey Chris, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah.
So where are we at?
Welcome to the Endocrine Lab.
Endocrine Lab. Well, what do you guys do here?
This is one of Crew's busiest labs, actually. We do a lot of assays, and we get a lot of results from hormones by the work that we do in this lab.
Okay, so hormones. So what do those hormones tell you?
Other episodes take viewers to meet a frog cryobiologist, a neurological brain researcher, a local paleontologist, and lots more. Recently, we sat down with Chris to talk about his mission to make science more accessible and about his goal to show kids that anyone can become a great scientist as long as they learn to see the world the way a scientist does. We met over coffee in downtown Cincinnati, not far from where many of his episodes are filmed.
You know, when I'm not in the classroom anymore, but when I was in the classroom as a science teacher, one of the things I wanted to do was get kids as excited about science as I was, like inspire that same sense of curiosity and wonder. And one of the ways I did that, there was this short PBS video series that was kind of attached to Nova called The Secret Life of Scientists. And they were short videos, like 30 to maybe 90 seconds, and they would feature scientists, and there'd be a couple of them in the series, and then talk about what their strange hobby was, because scientists have weird hobbies, and one was like a amateur wrestler, another was like really into parkour. And what was cool about that is you get to see the personality of a scientist, but then you also got to see in some of the other video clips is what inspired them to be scientists and why they are trying to solve the problems that they're doing. So it really resonated with the kids. They didn't think of scientists as like actual people. They thought of them as these names in books instead of real life people with hobbies and interesting quirks and who are just curious about the world, who want to solve a problem. And that was really, really cool to see how engaged the kids got in that. So that was probably like the genesis of this idea, but I wanted to do it locally. I wanted to focus on the local stories that we've got here.
Kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about scientists being regular people, not these super like beings that no one else can aspire to be. They're just
right.
they're people who are interested in answering questions.
Yeah, you know, they're not like mega mind. They don't have like walk around with giant brains. They're just people. You know, they they do the same stuff as we do. Like they get parking tickets, and you know they stub their toe on the couch. But what they do have is this, like I said, this innate sense of curiosity about how the world works. And you know, when we're talking about what kids need in the classroom, is they need that sense of curiosity. I think now more than ever. You know, that's not something we always focus on, is building that sense of curiosity and wonder, and you know, how does this work? And let me think about this, and let me think through this problem. Let me struggle with this. And I think that's what's cool about a series like this, is that you see, like you said, you see these scientists, that they're just real people doing stuff that you can do too.
I like how it's not necessarily just for kids too. I like, one of my favorite episodes was the Cincinnati Nature Center's Naturalist.
Yeah,
and
you like that one?
Yeah, I did, because I mean, I've always been so focused on media and writing and communications, and I come from like a small town farm community where my grandfather was a farmer and my mom is a gardener in her spare time. And it turns out, like, you know, decades later, I got kind of a green thumb, it seems like, somehow through osmosis and I guess upbringing. And I'm like, maybe I should have been a naturalist. And I really liked what he does with his job and how that is actually something that is happening here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, that episode is really cool. If you ever get a chance to go out to the Nature Center and go for a walk with Corey, he's just like a walking, talking encyclopedia. He just knows everything about the forest. And it's just like, we went walking around as we were filming, and we're like picking up snakes, and like, you know, we found some turtles, and we're like pointing stuff. Like there was like a little kid who was really excited about the turtles that he was looking at, so we were talking to him. And like he's another one of those people, like it's not just about the science for him. Like he gets getting people interested in that. Like, and he was like, just talking with some of those kids we saw at the Nature Center that afternoon was, it was like poetry in motion. It was really great to watch.
So since you've been so involved in the science community around the area, especially here locally in Cincinnati, what are some of the things that you've come in contact with that are some really great science resources around the area, things that parents can take their kids to, or maybe some hidden gems around the area that are really great resources for families and kids?
You know, in a certain sense, I'm pretty envious of kids these days, because there are so many opportunities for kids to do stuff outside of the classroom that have to do with science. And I think when I was growing up, that we just, like, they were there, but they weren't as ubiquitous, right? So a couple programs I think are really great is SynSam at Northern Kentucky University. They do summer camps with rocketry and robots. iSpace does a ton of different stuff, and they have stuff for all different grade levels. So whether your kids are, you know, just in elementary school or in middle school or in high school, they have like, you know, robot competitions in the first Lego team, coding camps, all sorts of stuff. And the Museum Center too, I would say, also has a good set of programs if you're a parent and you have, you know, a kid who's really interested in science. I'd also say, you know, there's nothing beats is good old fashioned like exploring, like not you know, take them to the zoo, but like take them to the Nature Center, like go down to Big Bone Lake, you know, take them to Mammoth Caves. Let them explore. Let kids get their hands dirty. I think that like there's something to be said for things that are a little unstructured, and letting kids kind of explore on their own. Like find an old VCR at Goodwill and give them a screwdriver and say, you know, have at, like figure it, like take it apart and see what's in there, and like guess what it does. So that if you don't know, like we'll find out. There's so many internet resources. Like try something. Or like let your kids do it. That's sometimes okay too. Like for you to take a step away and say, you do this. Like you figure this out. You know, it doesn't always have to come in a kit. It can just be stuff like I said, stuff lying around the house. You know, find something on a project they want to do on the internet, and you know, let them do it. And if they screw up, that's okay. Like that's cool if they screw up, because if they screw up, they're probably gonna want to come back and do it. And like, so much of science is screwing up, is like breaking something, like, oh, that didn't work, you know? But they learned something from that, and you learn from your failures, and you learn when things don't go right. And one of my favorite moments as a teacher was that penultimate test, right? Where it was right before the kids like got it, like let's say a rat trap car. That was one of the projects we did. You know, it was right at the cusp, and like the trial before they really got to make it work was the best, because like nothing mattered. Time, space, lunch, going to the bathroom, like none of that mattered except like, man, that broke that time. But I know what happened, and I know why, and I think we can get it fixed, which is such a beautiful moment, because like the normal stuff of high school, like, you know, texting your friends or like, you know, skipping out on class to go to the bathroom, and like all that normal stuff didn't matter. Well, all that mattered, they were all consumed in the moment and what they were working on, which is just, that's the moment you want as a teacher.
That's a great way to look at getting over. I think there's an inherent fear of failure in most people, but I think also our society today really sort of somehow engenders an avoidance of failure. But it seems like this sort of STEM learning and just this love of science in general is a way to not only get over a fear of failure, but also a way to sort of like crave it and see the beauty of it and learn from it.
Yeah, you need to crave it. And I think as teachers and as parents too, like failure is good. We need you set a structure for failure. And that's the key, is having an environment where you can fail, and that's okay. Now, there's a difference between trying something out and it not working and not giving a hoot, you know, like, and just letting things go by the wayside. Like, to me, that is the ultimate failure, is when we don't even try things. We don't even work at something to make it better or you know, to learn or anything like that. But having that structure, having that safe place where I can try something and I'm not going to feel, you know, embarrassed. I think that's what probably our fear is that nobody likes to feel, you know, embarrassed or foolish or stupid. You know, nobody likes to feel that, no matter who you are, how old you are, what field you work in. That's just a human thing. But if we can make it so if we can try something and it not work, and we can go back and learn and not feel that way, that's the magic place we want to get to.
What is next for Science Around Cincy? What kind of things do you have coming up? Like, where do you hope to take this project going forward?
Well, we're trying to get a season 2 together right now. So we're in the pre-production process of that. So we'll likely start filming here in the late spring. We're going to try to get all our episodes done through the summer and start releasing them before the beginning of next school year. So that's like the immediate hurdle we're trying to get, is just getting that ball rolling. But we also, you know, what we want is it to be a resource for teachers too, and a resource for parents to get their kids engaged in this. So, you know, all of our episodes come with teacher resources. So we want to build that out too, and build that resource for educators at any level, so that you can connect what you're watching, you know, in the videos, to what the kids are learning. And so we want to expand that too, because we want this to be a real tool for anyone who teaches science. So that's kind of the first couple hurdles. I think, you know, going down the road, we'd love to share with as many people as possible, and I think that's kind of our ultimate goal, is just to get disseminated as widely as we possibly can. You know, and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to cut through the noise of social media these days, but I think we're doing a good job so far, and I think people who are watching it are engaged, and I think they like it, and they're starting to share their friends, and that's all we can ask for. So check us out.
Chris Anderson is the host and executive producer of Science Around Cincy. Every episode is on YouTube and at sciaroundcincy.com, where you can also find additional classroom resources for parents and teachers that go along with each episode. And thank you for listening to this episode of the Reframe podcast. You can find more of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.